before I go on to the next video on framing, I wanted to take a minute and go over fasteners, right? When do we use nails? When do we use screws? What makes sense? When do we use hangers? So right off, you have to think about what type of force we're dealing with, right? So if we took a typical wall, so we have the bottom plate and we have the common stud that comes down into it. So all of the force, which generally the force we're dealing with is either straight down, which is gravity, or sideways, which is wind, right? Because wind will laterally push on the side walls. So on this, there's really all the force is going straight down that common stud. So the fastener is really just holding this in place. And really it's that wind load trying to push it sideways that we deal with. So our fastener basically is in shear, okay? Which means if the wind pushed hard enough, it would just shear off those nails or screws and take it apart. If we're in a different situation where something like this, maybe this is a little ceiling we put in a closet, okay? Then basically now we're downward. So as you can picture, the forces are weight down on this. Not a lot if it's in a closet, but this weight's pushing down. There's no wind, right? So now we're just dealing with gravity. So it's downward forces. The nails are in like this, and the nails are in shear again, right? Which is the generally what nails are in shear. That's why you use them. Sometimes we're in situations where we put things together where maybe this is hanging out like that, and it's trying to pull it apart like that, okay? That's in tensile, right? Or it's in tension. So it's trying to pull itself right off of the nail or the screw. And I'm telling you all this because it depends on what you want to use. On something like this, you would use screws because the threads of the screws, okay, are hard to pull off of. So if I put 2 screws in this, it's hard to pull it off of that. So that's when I want to use screws for the most part. If I'm in a situation where something like a couple floor joists, okay, like we did our box. Now our box is all sitting on the ground, so we didn't have much load at all. But on something like this, screws wouldn't be the choice because the force is down and it's trying to shear those off. And the problem with a screw is to make the threads, the center of the screw, the center of the threads is very thin. So screws actually shear off easier than nails, which gets us into generally what we would do on something like this would be a series of nails like we did that come in, okay? Your shear strength grows every time you add a nail. So if you could put 4 nails in here, it's certainly going to handle more weight than if you put 2 nails in because you'd have to shear off 4 nails instead of 2 nails. So if all that makes sense. Okay, you ready for all that? If you get to the point on these floor joists, you say, look, 4 nails isn't going to handle all of that weight, okay, because the span's wider and there's more weight on it. We start getting into what's called a bracket. And this is what's known as a floor joist bracket, right? So now this bracket, okay, is going to mount up against that board, all right, just like that. And what we've done is, a lot of people think it's the bracket itself that adds the strength. This actually doubles the amount of nails that go into the side board. So on each side there's 4 nails. That's a total of 8 nails that you would put in. And it would be very difficult. It wouldn't be effective to try to put 8 nails in down the side of this. You start splitting the wood and ruining the wood. So you use a bracket. There's another bracket that I brought up. It's a double bracket. Okay, so now we've got 2, let's say this looks like it's for 2x12s, 2 2x12s, probably a beam, which means it's going to have even more load. 8 nails is probably not going to be enough. So look at this, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 nails that can be put in. Once again, now you got to shear through 16 nails. So that adds the strength. So generally that's what nails are for. Nails are generally for shear, although there's a little bit of pull to them, right? So if you got a little, everything's going to have both of these forces, a little bit of down or a lot of down and depending on the wind. So nails get treated different ways to give resistance to pulling out. One of them is, this one's what's called a cement coated sinker. It's got like a glue on it that actually binds in there and holds. Another one, so these were the clip nails that we were using in the gun. And so these nails actually are ring shank. So they got a mechanical, like it's like a small version of a screw, but it's going to grab in there. So that's ring shank nails, and that's going to keep those from pulling out. Obviously, if most of the forces you're dealing with are trying to pull out, then you're going to use a screw. The screws I recommend are these Power Pro screws. I like this brand, but you can get other brands. The thing I like about them is they've got this star head. And I don't know if you can see that, but these star heads are fantastic because they don't really strip. Phillips heads, you're going to have a lot of problem with. They strip a lot. The Phillips bits get dull. These star heads really grab and bite hard. And you can get these in all various lengths. That bracket I just showed you, there's a special nail they make for that, which is it's thick, right? So it doesn't shear very easy. So it's got great shear characteristics, and it's made by Simpson. Simpson makes those brackets. It's made for those brackets. So these are all nails we're using on this project. This is what's called a cement-coated sinker. This is a hand nail, which is what we used to call it. So it's great to have the power nail, but every now and again you're up in a spot the nailer's not with you and you need to just nail something. It's great to have these. These are 16D sinkers in your tool pouch. And when we get on the roof, we're going to use roofing nails. Now there's the one other dimension to fasteners is the head, because the head matters, right? If you're doing finish work, finish screws make more sense. Finish nails, the heads are really small. We're not expecting things to pull off it or a lot of forces, but we don't want to leave. We want to leave something very small, and in finish nails we indent them. On a roof, the shingles, the asphalt shingles, have a tendency to want to rip off with the wind. So we want a wide head on those, which is a roofing nail. Okay, so once again, a nail, it's not going to see a lot of shear force because what will happen is the asphalt material will fail first, so it's not going to pull it out of the wood. So it's got a much larger head, and obviously the heads are covered when you shingle. So there's the quick version. Think about when you're using screws. Think about when you're using nails. What are your forces? Are you in shear force? Are you in compression force? And do you need hangers? Generally, anytime you're suspending a joist or a rafter, you use a hanger, and because it's the proper way to do it. Anyways, that's a little bit of Fastener 101.